you're from Detroit, and people always use that as an example of white flight, you lived in Detroit proper, not Plymouth.
No.
Not outside. You lived in the area that Eminem kind of wanted to claim he was from. What happened there? I've explained this before. A model cities program that started under Lyndon Johnson, Jerome Kavanaugh. Obviously, this is where they said, keep in mind, Detroit was the wealthiest city, at least in the country, if I'm wrong about it, the world.
One of the best in the world.
Yeah.
In the 50s. It was considered the Paris of the Midwest. So the plan was, and this is a perfect example here, the plan from the government was we need to show, proof of concept to America of the model cities program. Right? We need to be able to take credit for a successful city. So let's find the already successful city on the upswing, inject a few $1 million. I don't know what the number was. Maybe it was a few billion. I have no idea. Inflation really doesn't mean anything anymore. And they said, and then as it continues to do well, we'll take credit. And it tanked it. There was a city doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Model cities. They decided, now we're going to do this the first centralized urban planning experiment was Detroit, and it destroyed the wealthiest city in the country. To be clear, it wasn't capitalism run amok, and you were born and raised there.
It was marrying women to the government.
Yeah.
And taking a population that had high fatherhood rates.
Yeah. Black Detroit population.
87% fatherlessness. But I don't think white flight was ever really about race. I mean, there are always racists. There'll always be racists. It's just the nature. It was about property values going down. Well, would they go down? Yeah, and they did. It was about crime going up. Well, what happened? Crime went up. It was a cultural thing that really changed. People got out of town because they knew these things were going to happen.
And a big part of that was the crime was government project housing, or people were saying, I don't have to pay, and now I have some, and I don't have to work. This happened in Detroit. Happened, by the way, with white people in Detroit as well. I mean, Eminem was in a trailer park outside of Detroit, but sorry, continue.
I remember going there with you, and we were outside of the house I grew up in.
2009, I believe, yeah.
And you asked me, you said, Dad, when you were a kid, did this place look like this? I mean, boards on the windows and B&E screens and the neighbors torn down.
Your old house, to be clear, sold for $7,000.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. The other homes in the street are free. You can have them for squatters' rights.
Yeah. And so just to be clear, let me set it up. I'm looking at this. I'm seeing this home. Windows kicked in, boarded up, and then an abandoned building. This is where my dad was raised, in a little sort of what you call, not quite cul-de-sac, but kind of a little...
3 homes in the street.
Like an L, an L street. And I'm looking, and basically there's no one here. It's terrifying. And that's where I said, what was it like when you were raised here? Yeah.
Well, it was an immigrant street where everyone knew everybody. They had, and you'll know this as a golfer, Gerald, bent grass.
Oh.
You know what it takes to maintain bent grass?
A lot of work.
Get off my lawn, kid.
Takes an old Polish gentleman.
Maintained. Yes, Mr. Omer. He was German. And these people were proud of those places. They kept them meticulously.
Yeah.
And I remember you said to me, well, forget race, forget economics. Why don't these people just take care of their stuff? And there's this entitlement mentality that house wasn't enough. It was enough for those people. They raised gobs of kids in a 1,500 square foot house where they would finish out the attic, and that would be a barracks up there for bunk beds. But it's not enough. And so these people don't take care of them. It's a cultural thing. It's not a racial thing.
No, it's a cultural thing, and it's really more of an urban. And when I say this is the problem with language. They go, urban, do you mean black? No, I mean urban. Statistically, we mean it's an urban cultural problem, and a big part of that is because the government centralized control and idle hands with money from the government.